It's report card season. We handed one out to Queen Ewers not too long ago. Let's hand out our report cards to 6 first-year head coaches. I say first year, not all of them their first time being a head coach. Some of them yes, some of them no. But all of these guys had their first year at a new program. And so I just want to kind of take a inventory of how their first year went. And report cards are definitely a thing that you use to learn from last year. But I think even more so, you look at your report card and you see, where can I get better? What has to happen next semester, next season, all that. So we're going to give you some grades. And we don't do grades on the A through F scale here. We have a little bit of a different grading system. You'll see what I mean by that. But nonetheless, let's jump into it. Brian Kelly, LSU, went 10-4. And the knock on him coming to Notre Dame was, is he going to be a fit? He's got that funny accent. Is he going to fit okay at LSU? Well, he won 10 games in his first year. The grade for Brian Kelly and for LSU right now is ahead of schedule. That is very much so a passing grade for those of you keeping track at home. The win total preseason was 7 games. They won 10. You're not supposed to do that in year one. Remember how he inherited this program, a ton of talent, a ton of ability in-house, but what's the culture like? What is the operation, the mechanism, the way of doing things? What's the approach like at LSU? And how much ground do you have to make up? And it was a totally different team after the Auburn game. This team went 3-1 in games that were settled by 1 score. Let me just say this. Winning close games, to me, is the mark of a great culture. Now, next year, there's going to be expectations to do what you did this past year. Make the SEC title game. Compete for the college football playoff, win the SEC. Those are all going to be things they expect next year. Like I said, you made the SEC title game this year, didn't win it, but that's fine. That's year one. That's okay. We don't win the SEC title game in year one, right? Very gracious of you. For those of you in Baton Rouge, the expectations are to win a national title. So you're ahead of schedule, definitely ahead of schedule. 10 games, phenomenal. But we want to see some more ROI going forward. The mulligan year is gone. Take a step back in year 2. I think we need to be cautious how we approach that if that does happen, because I don't think it's down on Brian Kelly. I don't think it's down on LSU, but you set the bar very, very high. Definitely ahead of schedule in Baton Rouge. If you're not yet subscribed, would love to have you at the party. College football content every single day. We get to share this great game together. It's a community. I wholeheartedly believe that. We got a mic, we got cameras, we got Nick Brake running the show. This is a college football community that y'all have allowed us to cultivate. So let's keep this thing rolling. Also, follow me on the socials at JD Piquel on Twitter and on Instagram. Next coach up, Brent Venables. This is a first-time head coach. Was a DC at Clemson for a very long time, had a lot of success, took over the reins at Oklahoma. The grade for Brent Venables at Oklahoma is time to swim. It's time to swim at Oklahoma. You went 6-7 last year. You made a bowl game. You were treading water a lot in 2022. You're headed to the SEC here very, very soon. It's time to swim. And now treading water is great. When you're treading water, you will not drown by nature of that phrase, okay? By treading water, you're staying afloat. But it's not going to be good enough just to float in the coming years. With the way the SEC is, with the freak shows that you have in the trenches there, at linebacker, at running back, like, you need to be at a level where Oklahoma is humming as you get into the SEC. You need to make Oklahoma a destination for high school recruits, for transfer portal guys. Currently have a top 10 recruiting class, but it's time to swim. It's time to swim. Now, from a culture standpoint, I believe they have created belief, which is the price of admission to winning. Needless to say. The reason why I say that, you had a guy in Dylan Gabriel who could have likely taken his talents elsewhere, whether it was the NFL or transferred somewhere else, and don't know exactly his eligibility standing, but he had 1 more year, and he decided to come back to Oklahoma after they won 6 games. It wasn't like they got to the college football playoff, and he's like, man, 1 more year. Let's do this thing. 1 more year. Let's go win a national title. Came back to a team that was barely bowl eligible, that went toe-to-toe with a top 10 team in the Cheez-It Bowl. Said, let's run it back. So that belief from your leader, I think, reflects what's going on internally at Oklahoma, which is a very good sign. The grade for Billy Napier, another 6-7 year that we're breaking down here, as Brent Venables was just 6-7. Billy Napier at Florida, for me, the grade for him is let it bake. Went 6-7, but I don't think we're fully seeing his Florida program just yet. It's taken some time, but we forget so quickly how much inner turmoil, how much wasn't at Florida when he got there. Now, he's doing, I think, everything that he can in his power to get Florida to being the program he expects it to be and the program that we all expect it to be, but he inherited some issues depth-wise. He had a quarterback that was extremely talented. AR is phenomenal in every sense of the word. From what you get from the good Lord, he gave it all to AR. Okay, the things that you can't teach, he had those. Now, with that being said, there was a lot of times where you were pulling your hair out watching AR. There was a lot of times where you were saying, why are we getting Utah AR one game, we're getting Missouri AR the next? You weren't sure what you were going to get from him consistently. So if you plug in a consistent quarterback, I think you got a shot. I expect them to be active in the transfer portal. I expect them to continue to push forward on the recruiting trail. And they have two of the best young backs in America. I wouldn't be a victim of this moment right now with Florida. They didn't finish the season well at all. Got drugged in the game against Oregon State. But I wouldn't be a victim of the moment from that game and the Jaden Rashada stuff that's going on right now. Let it bake a little bit. Give it some time. Billy Napier, for me, gets a let it bake kind of grade. Next on the list, next report card to hand out, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. Folks, they went 9-4. How many of you would have guessed that after they lost to Marshall? Started the year 0-2. The grade for Marcus Freeman is, quote, they had us in the first half. I ain't gonna lie, they had us in the first half. Y'all know that Vine. If you know that Vine, appreciate you. Started out 0-2. They beat Clemson, have a top 10 recruiting class right now at the time of us being live. And y'all, they won 9 games, 8 in the regular season, mostly with a backup quarterback. Tyler Buckner goes down early. You say, Drew Pine, here's the car. Don't crash, brother. All you did was play complimentary football. Found a way to do what was needed in year 1 under Marcus Freeman to win 9 games. Allowed 23 a game, ran the football close to 200 yards a game. They were a tough team. They had an edge about themselves. Plug in Sam Hartman next year, the expectations are high, and they should be. The schedule isn't easy, but they're going to want to see something. They're going to want to see something. But going back to the report card of this whole thing, I was very impressed with how this team responded. Would have been extremely easy to mail it in after you start 0-2 and you lose to Marshall and everyone is making you the punchline of a joke on Twitter and you're a meme, whatever. Win 9 games. Silencer. I'm very excited for Marcus Freeman. First time being a head coach, I truly believe he's going to get that thing headed in the right direction. I very much do. So Marcus Freeman for us, the bake is they had us in the first half, not in the second. Lincoln Riley. The grade for me is fully calibrated. What do I mean by that? USC fans, college football public in general, was very disappointed and surprised and amused in some sense by how they finished the year with the loss in the Cotton Bowl to Tulane. We're all saying, oh my gosh, did you see that? Holy cow, what are they doing at USC? Well, before the year, they didn't make a bowl. Last year, before Lincoln Riley got there, they hadn't even made a bowl game. And so I think we all are now on the same page of what USC is. Because there were still some of us, myself included, that were holding our breath a little bit about USC. Tons of talent, but how quickly do they put it together? How quickly does it all mesh? Well, they meshed really quickly this year, and they won 11 games, went 11-3. They were a game away from playing in the college football playoff. Ran into the buzzsaw that was Utah that day. That's just the way that it goes. But I think for Lincoln Riley, he has got a really unique window with a generational talent and Caleb Williams on campus for 1 more year. Let's not kid ourselves. This is going to be the last time we get to see Caleb Williams playing for USC this coming season. Probably going pro after that. You got to get the big boys. You got to get the big boys because we saw in all these different games USC get pushed around against Tulane and against Utah. You got to get the big boys. And 7 of the 11 transfers they have right now are trench players from the offensive or defensive line or a linebacker, whatever it is, players that are going to contribute to that edge that they have. So I'm excited about USC. But if they were to win 6 games next year, everyone would say, what a failure of a season. If they won 6 games this year, it would still feel a little bit funky, but you would have the thought, well, hey, they missed a bowl game last year. Good for them. We're all on the same page about USC. We are all calibrated to the correct expectations for what is supposed to happen in Los Angeles under Lincoln Riley. So congratulations, Lincoln Riley, on your grade, fully calibrated. That is passing, by the way, folks. That is a passing grade. The last one, I'll be brief on this. because I don't know there's a ton to unpack. But Mario Cristobal from Miami, they went 5-7. The grade that I'm giving Mario Cristobal in Miami is you got termites. Say, JD, that is the most bizarre grade I've ever gotten. I've never gotten that on a paper. You've got termites. If I did, it feels more like a secret message. Here's what I mean by that. When a house has termites, it's bad. It's bad news. That means the foundation of your house, the foundation of your program is being affected. It's not stable. Doesn't mean you sell the house. Doesn't mean you burn the house. It's kind of embarrassing. You put a big tent over your house. Looks like the circus is in town. It takes time. It takes time, and I think Mario Cristobal's foundation of his program had termites last year. There was cultural issues. There was roster issues. I believe there was things on staff that were issues. Like, you have termites just eating away at what you're trying to build. And so you have to exterminate all of that before you can move forward. Mario Cristobal is made of the right stuff. Don't get it twisted. Mario Cristobal is what Miami needs. Now, will it work is dependent on how much time and resources they give him and how bought in he's able to get this program. How bought in can this locker room be to his way of doing things? So we've seen it work. We've seen him have success. There was just some embarrassing moments this past year that go back to the whole termite metaphor. There were some moments where you're trying to fix it. You got the big tent over your house. It's got wild colors on it. Losing to Middle Tennessee. Not a good feeling. Not how you want it to go. But I do believe that once they get those termites out of there, then Mario Cristobal can start to build. So that's our first-year coaches. Again, Brian Kelly, head of schedule. Brent Venables, it's time to swim, brother. Going to the SEC soon. It's time to swim. Billy Napier, let it bake a little bit. Don't be a victim of this moment. Let it bake a little bit. They've got some talent on that roster. They're going to go ahead and add some depth to that roster. Give them time. Marcus Freeman had us in the first half, but we won 9 games. Very excited about him, especially being paired with Sam Hartman. Lincoln Riley getting the whole operation fully calibrated in Los Angeles. And for Mario Cristobal, again, we got termites, but we're going to get that foundation sorted out after we exterminate those accordingly. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.